Evening, everybody. Welcome back to my podcast, Self Evolution One-on-One, and this is episode number 2. So, in this episode, we're gonna talk about the power of the subconscious mind, how the NLP and hypnotherapy can help reprogram your life. So, let's go ahead and talk about it right now. Let me share the screen. Okay, so in the last episode, I mentioned about the conscious mind and the subconscious mind based on Dr. Joe Dispenza. He mentioned that about 5% is our conscious mind and 95% is our subconscious mind. So if we really know the information, the program that we store in our subconscious mind since we were in our mother womb, and just remove the bad information, the bad beliefs, the bad habits out of our subconscious mind and replace it with the good things, what would happen then? It would turn us into a very powerful human. Do you agree with me? And this is why in this episode, I would like to show you how the NLP and hypnotherapy work with your subconscious mind. In this photo, you can see that our brain is composed of the 3 parts, like neocortex, the logical part, the limbic system, the part that create our emotion, short-term memory, and fear. And the last but not least one is the reptilian brain, which is the response for fight, flight, or freeze mode, which is our instinct, or when we are in a survival mode. So the emotion and the energy, they are stored in the limbic system. The feeling of shame, guilt, apathy, grief, fear, and anger, all these negative emotions, it can lead to the reaction from the reptilian brain in fight, flight, and freeze, right? So if we have this emotion all the time happening and we don't know that it's created, or let's say we are not being aware of this emotion, we will then put ourselves in the survival mode every time when we have this emotion. And yes, this is not good for our health, especially the mental health, right? Because mental health is related to our physical health, so somatic way. Mentality creates effect on our physical. All right, so this is very important that we are being aware of our unconscious behavior or unconscious negative emotion. Okay, so in order to be able to aware of something that we didn't know before, what we have to do first is to be able to identify what we haven't known. Otherwise, we will not be able to be aware of those things, right? In this diagram, this one, I use very nice graphic with the surface and underwater. And you can see also there is under the layer of the sand, right? So last time I used the iceberg model, which you can see on the right side. Let's say in this model, I will expand the unconscious mind and separate them into personal unconscious and collective unconscious based on the Carl Jung's theory or Carl Jung philosophy. So on the surface, it's still conscious, all right? And in the middle, in the layer, is still analytical mind. But below the surface, we have subconscious or unconscious mind, which can be separated into personal unconscious. And this personal unconscious, it store memories from the experience that we have in our life in this lifetime. So some you might not believe in reincarnation, It's not about the religion. I am Buddhist by original, but as I am studying more and more in the spirituality, spiritual science, quantum physics, metaphysics, then I understand that the concept of reincarnation is not limited only for the Buddhism. It's not only our beliefs. It's real. It's a universal knowledge, and and many people know about this. And when you accept that you are not born in this lifetime, at the first lifetime, then you will have capability to go back and see what happened in your past lives, which is the component in the collective unconscious. So I put the collective unconscious below the ground here. Something that somebody said, oh, I don't know that it exists. So something that we don't know that we don't know that it exists. So based on Carl Jung's concept, the collective unconscious is accumulated information from our ancestors, from our past lives. It's a deep pool of unconscious patterns. For example, the culture of fears. And you can see like the different nature, the different cultures in different countries, like in Asia and in Western countries, we have totally different belief systems. Why like that? Because our ancestors believe in different things. And that's something it's called collective unconscious. And look at your own family. My family, your family, my friend's family, we have totally different beliefs in something. Those beliefs might come from my parents, and of course, from my parents, grandparents, from or ancestors, right? This collective unconscious is something that we should be able to know and then accept, and then we can work on the information that create our negative belief, negative thought, bad behaviors, internal conflicts, and etc. This is not easy that we got to know about this, but it is possible, and we can work on this together. That's why the NLP and the hypnotherapy came in. So if you see on the right-hand side, you will see the iceberg model. On the surface, it's a persona. It's a person that you see, that you express to the society from your conscious. But the conscious mind is driven by the subconscious mind. And the subconscious mind can be composed of the shadow self. So what is a shadow self? The shadow self is the shadow of yourself that you might start to create when you were very, very young, from the event or experience when you were maybe as a child, you were maybe bullied from the class. Then you create yourself that you have to be able to fight back to those guys who teasing you when you were young and small. And then that shadow self tell you that, okay, now you're going to learn fighting in all kind of martial arts, and then you're going to be able to beat those guys back when you grow up. But then that creates somebody that is not authentic self of you from that age. Then when you grow up, you become very aggressive person and beats up every other guys who trying to tease you. That can happen. So one of my friends told me about his story like this, and then he had to go for 1 month therapy in a hospital to understand where his shadow self came from and work on his shadow self. The other shadow, there are so many types of shadow selves that laying under water underground, right? So in one person, in one single person, there are so many shadow selves laying below our surface. So if you know all the shadow selves that you had, which is the bad shadow selves. Shadow self can be bad and good. Okay. So if you know all the bad shadow self, you know the root cause of that shadow self, why it was created, then what would happen is you will be able to accept the cause and work on your shadow self. You cannot get rid of those shadow self, but then when you accept, you acknowledge the power of your shadow self, then you turn it into the good way. You use it in the better way, in the good way, not the negative way. Okay. And you integrate it with your authentic self. And that means your power, your potential will be totally unleashed. You become the super you. You evolve yourself to the next level. That's a very powerful work on your shadow self. So, as I said, there are so many types of shadow self, and Carl Jung gave the definitions of different types as a shadow archetypes. Here I will mention about 3 common shadow archetypes. The first one, the victim. The victim means that the archetype that represents tendency to blame others or external circumstances for our suffering, avoiding responsibility for our emotions and actions. And why like that? Because this kind of self or this kind of archetype, the person may be blamed or maybe abused when he or she was young in their childhood. So they keep that anger, they keep that fear under the ground, under the carpet, suppress it. And then after 40 years pass by, boom, cannot hold it anymore. They started to yell to the other people, to blame the other people. They become a big boss lady or big boss man and becoming super bossy, but not the leader. So if you not teach yourself that you have one of these behavior, you might want to reflect on the recent situation where you felt victimized. Okay. And then ask yourself how much you take responsibility for your own emotions or reactions, not pointing to the others. This is just the conscious level, and you can do this by yourself. This is like self-coaching, asking yourself like this. So if you find a situation that you became victim not long ago, and those situations make you become the blamer at the present moment, then you will like, because of that situation, it makes me like this, and I didn't want to be like this. So then you can reframe or reprogram yourself that, okay, I am not a victim anymore, so I don't have to blame the others, and I take responsibilities for my own reactions or for my own emotions or for my own actions. All right. So the next common archetype is the perfectionist. So I believe that many people on the business area here on LinkedIn, you are perfectionist. I am perfectionist, very perfectionist. I was very perfectionist before I got to know myself. And before I learned about NLP, I was never be good enough. Oh my God, when I knew that, like the meaning of I am not good enough, that I had that in my mind for the last 42 years of my life, blocked me to become success. So the perfectionist, they will always strive for flawlessness, leading to self-criticism, procrastination, and fear of failure. Are you one of that? You might be keeping procrastinating on giving the knowledge or sharing the knowledge to the others, or completing your PhD, or let's say like you already complete your PhD, but then you thought, I'm not yet good enough to do a big job, so I'm going for the postdoc. I'm gonna tell this fact for you, okay? So in my case, last year when I first went to the NLP course for 2 days, I didn't realize that I was programming myself since 12 years old that I had to be good enough as a doctor or PhD graduated in order to share my knowledge in the seminar, in the public, and make a good money. So in that seminar, what I found out that I found this career blockage of me telling myself I am not good enough. So what happened to me was, even though I studied a lot more than some of PhD students, but I would always say to myself that, well, it's better to get PhD done. But then you know what? Deeply in my subconscious mind, didn't want to do PhD, because when I was young, at 12 years old, I had the feeling against my auntie, because she always said, look, you are a very good girl. You can do top score in every classes. I believe you can do PhD. I believe you can become a doctor, because she was a nurse. And then I said to her, like, wait a minute, Auntie, why do I have to become a doctor in order to get rich, in order to be successful? Why do I have to become PhD graduate in order to get rich, in order to be successful? And then I told my auntie, you know what? I think I can be more than one career. I mean, I can do more than one career at a time, and I don't have to be doctor, because I don't like anyone telling me doing what they want, not asking me. I don't like to be told. Since I was young, I was very stubborn. So that creates my program that I don't take any opportunity to be a doctor or PhD. Oh man, that lasts until last year. I wanted to do PhD recently, or the last 3 years, based on the belief that if I get the PhD certificate, graduation, it would be better for me to be a public speaker. It will make people trust me better. It will lessen the barrier, blah, 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 etc. But then my subconscious mind said, no, you don't need it. Don't do it. Don't do what your auntie says. Like this, you know? So I've been hesitating to do, to not do, to do, to not do, to do, to not do. And then those 3 years put me in the position of not going to be a public speaker. For 3 years, I did not giving this podcast or live on LinkedIn or anywhere that I could practice my English already, or like going live on my YouTube channel more often, that I give or share the knowledge of self-development journeys, because I thought I am not yet good enough, because I am not having the PhD, I am not having doctorate, I am not an MD. Well, now from that NLP class, I remove those limiting beliefs. And well, after that, I was like, oh, so light. And I am always good enough now to do anything that I want to do. You are also good enough in your own version to do whatever you want to do. You are good enough to do things. You don't have to listen to the others. All right. So now you can ask yourself to reflect on the recent situation where you saw perfection. Maybe you will answer, oh, every single day I'm looking for perfection in my work from my colleagues, blah, 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 from whatever I'm doing. How difficult you using your life, you're spending your life with being perfectionist. It's such a pain. It's such a very tired life. I knew this. I knew this. And when I knew that, when I had enough tired of being perfectionist, I wanted to move away from being perfectionist. And I have to know why I wanted to be always perfectionist. But once I know, it totally transformed my life. So today, it is possible for you to accept the word good enough. Okay, so the last common archetype that I will mention today is people pleasure. So the people pleasure, they seek for more art to make others happy, often at the cost of personal well-being and authenticity. Wow, if you want to say no, but you cannot say, you always say yes because you want to make the other people happy, because you want to make your friends, your boyfriends, your colleagues happy. So you keep saying yes to everything, everybody, every asking favor. You can do favor to everyone else, but then you forgot to do a favor for yourself. So you are sabotaging yourself a lot to make other people happy. And this is one of the most archetypes that happen nowadays. And because you're not being aligned with your authentic self, and it creates the suffer in your mental health. You know why you want to be people pleasure? Some person, well, some people, they were in a they are in a family that parents never see them as a good kid, so they were feeling like from young, right, that they never been good enough for their parents. So it's very very curious that how the parents in Thailand, especially, now I don't know about the other Asian countries, but in Thailand we always push our kids like, oh, the kids might do very good job in the marks already, but then some parents who are perfectionists all the time will tell their kids like, okay, good, maybe next time we can make it better. That means what? That means your kid think, oh, it's not yet good enough for my dad because my dad is genius. Then that kid will program them himself that I have to be perfectionist. I have to be good enough. I have to make my dad happy. I have to make my mom's happy. I have to make other people happy so that I can be happy. And they always seek for validation. And then when they grow up, what happened? They never been stopped doing something and focus on the thing and success. But they'll be seeking the validation all their life in every areas. They're gonna be number one in sport competition because they want to win, because they want acceptance. They want to be number one in the business because they want everyone to see that they're the best. So people pleasure and perfection are really related. All right. And I want you to understand that if you have some kind of these archetypes, it's time to know and to find the root cause that create these archetypes in you. And that's why I'm doing this podcast. I was in this position. I was always saying, yes, 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 I did for you. I can do it. I can do it. And then it started to get overwhelmed. It started to make me stressed and I didn't have enough sleep. But then what happened is all very stressed and mental health issue and weight gain, thyroid system, etc. Blah, blah, blah. Then at the end, I said, okay, enough. I'm going to take care of myself and I'm going to love myself more. If you cannot do it, you have to go back and do it. I'm not going to do it for you. We are human. Why you have to ask me to do everything for you? You don't have to do everything for everyone that is asking you to do, because that person, they should be responsible for their own thought, for their own idea. And if they cannot do it, they come to you and ask you to do it. And then you should say, what? No, I'm sorry, I cannot do it for you. Why don't you try to figure it out yourself? You have to say, you have to try saying no. Sometimes it's better for yourself. You have to get back to heal yourself. Friends, please love yourself more. Okay, so now you can get back and recall a situation where you said yes, when you wanted to say no. When was the last situation that happened to you? Maybe just today. Who knows? And what were you afraid of? What if you say no? What would happen? What are you expecting? That person gonna hate you for life? No, no way. And if they hate you for life, okay, then it's good. And you know that that person just consider you to just be a slave for you, not a friend. That's it. And then you can cut off that person off your life. Simply like that. Because friends, we not just cut off, only you are saying no to them. All right. And you don't have to seek the love from somebody else. If you have sufficient self-love to yourself, you don't need to seek for validation. And you don't have to be a people pleaser. Enjoy your life. So all of these, it can become shadow selves, and that's why we should work on our shadow selves, and it's called shadow work. So here are some techniques that we use for working on our shadow self: the NLP, the hypnosis, meditation, breath work, and journaling. So there are some techniques, many techniques of NLP, but here I'm gonna mention about only one technique. It's called reframing. So reframing technique is like reframing the way you look at the world by changing your feeling about conditions and the event in your life. So from this technique, you can change from negative thinking to positive one. You can change from feeling the empowerment to empowerment. And you can change the feeling of unhappiness to happiness. And yes, it's very important that you're gonna have better life, because you should have the positive thinking, you should have the empowerment of feeling, and you should be happy to have good life, to have good well-being, mental well-being, physical well-being, and spiritual well-being. So somebody asked me like, no, how can you always think positively? Well, it's just easy. It's just like you just got to do it. You don't have to always think negative. So reframing technique is very simple and easy. For example, I was always in a traffic jam in Bangkok, because I lived in Bangkok, right? One day I just said to myself, okay, no, you don't need to have your own car anymore in Bangkok, because what? If I drive my own car to meet my friend, it would take me 1 hour or maybe 1.5, and then I have to find a parking lot in the shopping mall another 10 minutes, and then on the way back another 1 hour driving. So let's say in these 2.5 hours total driving, what can I do? I could work on my things on my iPad, in the taxi, or in the public commute. So I stopped driving the car. I sold the car and I changed. It's like, okay, so I got to have better time management. If I'm not going to take a MRT or BTS, if I'm going to take a taxi, I have to travel with the car on the street on the non-off-peak hours. And then I'm going to call the cab, right? And not driving, so I can have time to do something on my own business in the car. For example, meditation, 10 minutes, listening to podcasts, YouTubing, learning something from YouTube. If you cannot write, you cannot focus on something, then just use your ear to listen on something. Or maybe you can make a list of the people you have to call before you leave your home, and then you started to call those people on the car, and then you already did some job before you arrive at work. How good is that? All right. And if you still want to drive your own car to the office, then you got to change the time and you might have to wake up earlier. But then what would be good about that is you arrive work earlier and then you're going to have time to plan the job for today. Or you're going to have time for doing maybe 10 or 15 minutes meditations and you don't have to be rushed to the office. Okay, so this is reframing technique. Then other example is if you just move to the new place and you thought, oh, it's like a big city, Bangkok. I never been here. It's so busy, and you might have culture shock and scare. But then if you reframe it, like, okay, wow, there's so many things going on here. It's so busy. It's totally different from the place I am. But now I have to be here in order to study. I cannot just run away. So what if I spend every weekends in my free time, plan with my friends, going out to have a sightseeing in Bangkok? It's such a wonderful city. Many people from other countries fly to Thailand to stay in Bangkok, and they don't have time. But I have time here for studying, maybe 4 years. But they have maybe only 1 week to come here and just do sightseeing. What's a good chance of me staying in the big and beautiful city, many things to see and enjoy the life? Then you get out of the anxiety zone already. So other technique that is very powerful one is called the hypnotherapy. So with the hypnotherapy, we're gonna bring you to the brainwave into theta state, and then the hypnotherapist will guide you with a script, and it can help access the non-remembering memory in your subconscious mind to change the habit, to do past life regressions, removing your limiting beliefs, and maybe do including doing the inner child trauma. So this is very powerful technique, and it can shift your state of being very fast. Okay, so if you are if you work on your subconscious mind and you remove your shadow selves, and you can integrate the subconscious and unconscious mind together, you will unleash your potential, being your authentic self, and you are limitless. All right, and my story was, I went to the hypno class and I asked my friend to remove my limiting belief of not being good on Facebook advertisement because I haven't done it for the last 5 years. And after that, I generate 100x income in 4 days by shooting the Facebook ad. How good is that? So final key takeaway from today, the subconscious mind is very powerful and you should consider working on the junk and replace it with the good in your subconscious mind. And if we can reprogram the subconscious mind, we can change our reality. The shadow work leads to integration of conscious and unconscious mind or subconscious mind. It's very important for personal evolution. And last but not least, NLP and hypnosis are good techniques to work on subconscious level. All right, friends. So this is the end of the episode number 2. And for the next episode, it's going to be on Wednesday, 19th of March, the same time, 8 o'clock to 8:30 p.m. And I hope you enjoyed this episode. And if you missed the last episode, please go back and have a look. Please give me any feedback. I love to hear from you. Thank you. See you next